What's up, Cowboys Nation? Welcome back to another All-22 film breakdown. And the Dallas Cowboys get smacked at home again. They lose to the Detroit Lions 37-9. And low-key, I'm not going to lie, I've been dreading doing this video just because there's really not much to break down. I'm going to be honest. There is not a lot of content here other than just bad, terrible football and the Cowboys resorting back to their terrible ways and playing really bad in week 6. So be sure to hit that like button and subscribe. And once again, I'm not a professional or analyst, just a fan of the game. Despite what the final score says, 37-9, the Cowboys actually started off on the right foot. They actually were moving the ball the first 2 drives. And if you talk about tempo and if you talk about establishing the right thing, this first play is actually where the Cowboys did right. They got Rico in the backfield. You'll see CeeDee Lamb come here in motion. And that's really important. Or Jalen Tolbert, sorry. Those are important because those were things that made the Cowboys successful in the past 2 weeks. They were utilizing pre-snap motion and they were utilizing Rico Dowdle. And they started the game off with that. It didn't go anywhere, but this is the right mentality. Now look, I'm going to get picky here, and I don't like this play. This is bad Dak right here. This is when Dak's not confident and he's not feeling himself. Great fun play by Rico, but this is bad Dak right here. Look, reason why I don't like this play is the Cowboys do a lot of this, and this doesn't help Dak at all, and this isn't deceiving in any way. They're going to do a lot of stuff over here, but it doesn't matter because Dak is going to fall in love with that first read. And this is bad Dak. This is Dak when he's not feeling confident. He's not feeling great, like I mentioned. And no matter what happens on this side, it doesn't matter what route they're running, he's going to nail that first read. And it's one of my worst pet peeves when watching Dak. I mean, look at it. It doesn't matter what he's doing. He's open. You can give it to him. But Dak doesn't even look anywhere. He doesn't look left. Look at that helmet. He doesn't look left. He is eyeing down Jake Ferguson because this is a pre-designed play. And he falls in love with that first read and doesn't give any look to anybody else. That's when I knew, okay, we may not be in for a good one. Despite me choosing the Lions to win this game, it might be a long day. We're going to throw into double coverage, and this ball is going to be behind Jake Ferguson, hence the tip pass. But this is just bad Dak. And this is based off of preparation from poor route design and play design. Regardless, like I said, the Cowboys were able to move the ball really well. You got CeeDee Lamb in motion right here. Great play design. Look, the Cowboys lost 37-9, but there were things that were done in the first 2 drives that were actually pretty successful, and this is one of them. Great catch by CeeDee Lamb in open field to get the big run. That's what you're supposed to do as an offense. And then it starts to get ugly. The Cowboys, it doesn't matter if they're in the red zone. It's usually when they're within the 30-yard line. When they're within that 30-yard line, which we'll just call the scoring zone for right now, they implode. It's almost as if they're thinking too hard about it. It's almost like they're thinking to themselves, we got to get creative here. We got to do something different here because we don't score much down here. And they just overthink this. What is this? Why is CeeDee Lamb my running back? Why is CeeDee Lamb in his running back? He is not Deebo Samuel, y'all. This is desperation. This reeks desperation when there shouldn't be any desperation. You're moving the ball. You're doing well. You have answers with Rico Dowdle. Why is CeeDee Lamb getting this handoff? And there's no deception here. It's in fact just a straight run for CeeDee Lamb. This is poor play calling. This is laziness. This is desperation by the Cowboys in the scoring zone. And this is where things just start to go downhill for the Cowboys. You got this pre-snap motion from Jake Ferguson, which, by the way, you got to sell the pre-snap motion. If you're just going to do pre-snap motion for pre-snap motion, then what's the sense of it? It has to be intentional. It has to move the defense. And I need and I'm getting nitpicky. I'll totally, admit that. But it's so like he's going through the motions that he's just not selling this pre-snap motion. Regardless, this play just falls apart. We've seen a screen work for the Cowboys in previous games. But the offensive line, man, we're going to get on this offensive line today because they played poorly. If you want to talk about one of the biggest reasons why this team was unsuccessful and laid an egg against the Lions at home, It's this offensive line. No one played good. No one played effective. This is a screen. You need to hit your man. You need to hit your assignment and launch. You need to break them and then launch to the side because you got to get in front of the running back. It just seemed like they were disconnected. It just seemed like this offensive line was miscommunicating because Zack Martin does a poor job getting that block. I mean, Rico's not even out in his cut, so Dak has to get rid of this. And Zach's not even in position. Look, I love Zach. Zack Martin's a terrific player for the Cowboys and has been for more than a decade, but he had his worst game as a player for the Dallas Cowboys. And not even that. I mean, just in the National Football League. He's not even to his spot right there, and this play just blows up and doesn't go for any yards because of poor offensive line play. This next play here is just another example of terrible offensive line play. I like the play call. You got to get the ball into your playmaker's hands, but this goes for nothing because the offensive line is miscommunicating. They're not on the same page, and they're not playing their best. I like the pre-snap motion. Schoonmaker does a good job of not lazily running through the pre-snap motion, and they get the ball to CeeDee Lamb. But this is almost laughable how bad this falls apart because we'll slow it down, and Zack Martin just getting off of that block way too slow. It's almost concerning how bad he's looking. But you get the ball across, and look at these. That's BB and Zack Martin running into each other. That's how bad this offensive line played. And it's not a good sign seeing that your first drive. I mean, they're blocking behind CeeDee Lamb. The offensive line needs to be blocking forward. CeeDee has the speed to run out these guys, but the offensive line play, they go backwards. They block backwards, and they run into each other doing so, and it leads to no gain. You want to talk about the reason why the Cowboys lost, and I've already said this, it's the offensive line. This is some of the worst offensive line play that I've seen in a while from the Dallas Cowboys. The Cowboys had no chance to run what they wanted. And rightfully so, we can get mad at Mike, Brian Schottenheimer, Dak, but this offensive line did no favors. It's almost terrible once you break down the game. It almost seemed everything was hard for Dak on Sunday. It seemed every play there was a Lion defensive player in the backfield touching Dak, pushing Dak, sacking Dak. I mean, even that short play right there, Rico does a great job at the chip, but Terrence still almost lets Aiden Hutchinson get in there for a sack. I mean, really, there are big question marks with the offensive line coach, Mike Solari, because this offensive line looks night and day difference from how they did last year. I mean, they got their problems. They really do. But this is inexcusable to put on a performance like this. Pre-snap motion, good play call, but just the switches really confuse this offensive line. This all comes down to communication. And I get that the offensive line looked different. You know, no Tyler Guyton. You got Tyler Smith out here on the left-hand side. You got TJ Bassett, your left guard. But Zack Martin seemed like he was the weakest part of this offensive line, which is so concerning because this is a communication. This is, okay, I'm going to pick up this guy. He's going to come around. I'm going to get him as well. But there's just no communication, and it leads to this pressure or this holding call that's going to make the Cowboys kick a field goal and end their first drive. And as we go through this second drive here as well, when the Cowboys got the ball back after the Lions scored a touchdown, you'll see the same inconsistencies. Dak can only do so much, but the game of football comes down to the trenches. I mean, look at this offensive line play here. Just pressure on Dak all day long. Again, another play of poor offensive line play. I mean, there's a defender right in Dak's face, and Dak did the best he did. I mean, look at this great throw and this great connection to Tolbert. But the offensive line play, when I rewatched this, I was like, I don't know what I'm going to talk about. But once I saw each play, the offensive line is the biggest reason why we lost this game. And I'm hoping it clicks at some point. I mean, it doesn't matter if it's Barry Sanders, Emmitt Smith, Ezekiel Elliott running behind this line. They're not doing anyone favors by the way that they're blocking. There's just no time for Dak to do anything, to go through any kind of reads because they're getting pushed back 5 yards into the pocket. And it's just like dominoes. It really is. When you don't trust your offensive line, you don't trust your instinct. And that's what Dak Prescott's doing right now. He's not trusting his instinct. He's not trusting his preparation. He's not trusting himself, and he doesn't feel confident in himself. And why should he? This offensive line isn't doing anyone favors, and this is the interception right here. And if you look here, it's actually a really great job by the Detroit Lions because they're playing a zone defense right here. And the Lions sell this. I mean, this is supposed to be his guy down here, and it looks like that for a moment, but then he comes back up and then just picks Dak Prescott off in the end zone. It's a terrific play by the Lions. It really is. But in this type of situation, Dak just can't throw that. He can't throw that because at this point it's 7-3. You kick the field goal, it's 7-6. Lions went on to score a touchdown, which would have made it 14-6, but you're still in the game at that point. This offensive line is not playing its best, and I don't know if it's coaching. I don't know if it's the players, or it could be a combination of both. And there really wasn't much film to dive into that other than just these two drives. I'm not going to waste time spending, diving into the defensive side of the film because no one played. We knew that. We knew that the defense was going to get torched by the Lions, but this offense could have been better. I mean, they were taking the right steps in the right direction the past 2 weeks against the Giants and the Steelers, and they just looked like a shell of themselves. And that's so disheartening to see all the work, all the progress, all the improvement go to nothing. But that's what I got. This is why the Cowboys did not play well. And it starts with the trenches. It starts with the offensive line. Be sure to hit that like button. Be sure to subscribe. And go Cowboys.